Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Ushanka Show, stories about life in the Soviet Union. Здравствуйте, дорогие товарищи, в эфире программа Ushanka Show. In this video we're going to talk again about Soviet childhood, советское детство, and I already covered the topic quite a bit. I have a separate playlist, Soviet childhood, and if by any chance you missed it, link will be below in the comment section. Some time ago I stumbled upon this book called A Sasha Выйдет, Will Sasha Come Out? Come out as the come out to play outside, by Evgenia Dvoskina. So she describes her memories of the Soviet childhood in stories and pictures. Советское детство в историях и картинках. And right away, a small detail that many foreigners probably would notice. You see a bag hanging outside the window. So that's winter, and that's how a lot of people kept their stuff cold, just by hanging bags outside the windows. That means they had no refrigerator or their fridge was too small to fit everything. And even in modern-day Russia, some people still use cold storage outside their windows. And the first picture in this book is called Ключ на шее, key on the neck. If you remember, Soviet Union had 100% employment, which means 100% mothers and fathers were at work when kids were coming from school around 2 p.m. So we had to wear a key on our neck. In America, it's called latchkey kids. I don't know the term. We actually didn't have a term in Russian to describe that. But unless you have grandparents that stay with you, you had to have your own key, and since kids tend to lose stuff, the safest spot to have a key was wearing around the neck. And another comment about being a latchkey kid. The only time I didn't have to wear my key was in the summer when I stayed with my grandparents for a summer break out in the village. So it seemed this girl didn't have grandparents out in the country, so she still stayed in the city. Her parents still had to work. So even in summer, she had to wear her key. Another summer-related picture. Сахарная вата, надо есть. Cotton candy, gotta eat it. In Russian, we call it сахарная вата, so that's like a cotton sugar. And I don't know why she wrote gotta eat it, and the girl face looked really unhappy because every kid loves cotton candy. Cotton candy was usually available in the summer near the parks or amusement parks or other places where people like to gather, hang out in the summer. The retail price was 10 kopecks per roll, which is equals to 2 bus tickets. Making and selling cotton candy was also one of the underground businesses in the Soviet Union. I remember when I was with my mom on the Black Sea in Yevpatoria, there was people walking along the beach having a big bag and carrying rolls of this сахарная вата, cotton candy, in offering for people right on the beach to buy it. I think it was the only time I tried cotton candy. I don't recall the price, but probably was more than 10 kopecks, maybe 20, maybe 50 kopecks per roll. And I had to look it up. So apparently out of 1 kilogram of sugar, which Soviet Union price was 78 kopecks per kilogram, you can get 33 rolls of cotton candy, which means if you sell it for 20 kopecks per roll, you get in 6 rubles 60 kopecks out of 78 kopecks of initial product. If you sell it for 50 kopecks, you're talking about 16 rubles. So that's really good margin right there, right? So of course people had to pay local cops, militia. They had to pay something to the management of the beach. So still a huge margin. A lot of money could be made selling cotton candy underground in the Soviet Union. And I apologize for the small detour. Let's go back to our book about Soviet childhood. And the next picture is zubnoy. So in Russian, dentist is zubnoy vrach, tooth doctor. And I don't know why, but my parents, I'm not sure if every Soviet parent did the same to their kids, but my mom took me to dentist anytime my milk tooth, we call it молочный зуб, or baby tooth, got loose. So all my teeth were professionally yanked by the dentist. Alright, so next, Soviet childhood memory. Полоскать горло, смотреть в зеркало на печальное бледное лицо. So you gargle your throat, look at the mirror at your sad, white face. So that was one of the ways to take care of your sore throat, is you use hot, almost boiling water, add a lot of salt or baking soda, and then you gargle, I think that's the word, and somehow it helps with the sore throat. Did that many times. Your mom will tell you need to do it for 30 seconds, so you do while you count in your head for 30 seconds. Quite a painful project. And another small cute details in this picture. In Soviet Union, we had no clothes dryers, So the only way to dry your clothes was using a clothesline. And if you didn't have a balcony, small items you will dry right there in the bathrooms. Измерение луж весной. So measuring depth of the puddles in the spring. So these two girls on the way from school, they put down their school cases, portfeli. Backpacks really weren't a thing during the Soviet days. So, they are on the way from school, no hurry, since parents are at work. So one of the entertainment things to do is just to find a new puddle and measure how deep it is. Velosiped, bicycle. By the way, I have a video about Soviet bicycles. I'll provide the link below in the comment section. But here, a girl is riding on the frame. Катать кого-то на раме. That was the popular way of doing it. Actually, I broke one of the bikes because of the person who was sitting on the frame was too heavy and the bike literally fell apart. So it looks like she is really enjoying the ride. Soki vody, juices and waters. I covered this topic many times in my videos about Soviet retail. We had stores called овощи and frukty, vegetables and fruits, and also sold canned juices in these large 3-liter jars, so it's almost a gallon. And you could also purchase them by the cup. So tomato juice, for example, was 10 kopecks a glass. So you just give money to the lady and then you drink juice. You can add some salt. Next to the salesperson, there's another glass with a spoon and a little bit of salt. And of course, how can we forget автоматы газированной воды, Soviet soda machines, soda dispensers. So for 1 kopek, you just have a soda without any syrup, and for 3 kopecks, you have one. Usually it's like orange or lemon flavor syrup added to it. And I talked about it a lot of times. And I have videos on that topic, so if you missed that, definitely you should watch it.
Вот эта машина.
Когда позволяли швейную машинку крутить, только медленно и очень осторожно. When you were allowed to spin the sewing machine, but slowly and extremely carefully. So some kids and their parents had to share an apartment with grandparents, like in this case. So grandma was busy fixing or making clothing using sewing machine that not the one has a pedal on the floor. Mostly we used one that you have a handle that you spin, and sometimes kids were allowed to help. My mom has a sewing machine, but she never allowed me to do anything with it. Посылка, the parcel. Once again, I covered this topic in my videos. So this is how we exchange presents or goods with relatives or friends, mailing each other parcels. We had a special standard plywood boxes that you would fill with goods and then you ship. And this is how my parents sent me bananas when I was in the village in the summer, the best present ever. And then you need pliers to pry open the box, and then you have some goodies from the village. Or maybe you send to the village some items that they couldn't purchase there. So this girl obviously lived in an older home, built probably before the World War II or even maybe earlier, before the revolution of 1917. And those homes featured wide dual pane windows. So you have 2 sets of windows, and it's like this passive insulation system. And it was quite a big gap between. So for the New Year decoration, people would lay their cotton wool, that white fluffy stuff that looks like snow, and then we'll sprinkle some pretty things, put Ded Moroz, Grandpa Frost figurines in there, and that'll be their New Year decorations. Ручеек, small creek, one of the games we used to play in school between the classes or when you play outside, because most people lived in a big apartment building, so there was always plenty of kids playing outside. So the idea of this game, as you see, there'd be like couples holding hands up, and then one person who doesn't have a partner goes under this bridge of arms and you snatch someone's hands, so you steal a partner, so you create a new bridge, and the person who lost the partner walks in the beginning and does the same thing again. So that's kind of was more like if you like some girl, you're constantly trying to steal her. So kind of boring game, but if you're in love with somebody, it was a lot of fun. And we played a lot of cards. Usually so-called Durak, the Fool, that was the most popular one. Well, when you don't have video games, there's nothing to watch on TV during the day because there'll be some ballet and opera on. Kids had to entertain, and one of the ways we're kept busy, especially on the rainy days, we were playing cards. Another popular game for the girls was so-called Rezinochka, the rubber band. So two girls will hold the rubber band with their legs, and the third girl will perform specific combination of jumps. That was the different ways you jump inside of the rubber band, and you need to hop and step with both legs on each rubber stretch. And if you trip, you lose, then you hold the rubber band. And after you successfully perform all these 8 different combinations, then the rubber band go higher and you repeat again. So it has several levels, and they could go up to high up to waist. So that was pretty wild. There was a lot of jumping and definitely kept girls in shape. Classicy, so that was another popular game. Kids will draw with the chalk on the blacktop. There's a kind of like a pattern. Numbers go from 1 till 8 or 9. And then you throw the rock on number 1. Then you perform a series of jumps. You try not to step on the lines because that's when you fail. And then you throw the rock again on the number 2 and you perform those jumps again. So yeah, and you jump in like on a single one with 1 leg, then you jump with 2 legs, and 1 leg again, then you have to jump 180, turn around and return back. So it was a lot of fun. We also had Prыгалка, jump in the rope, another game popular among the girls. Брызгалки, that was another popular entertainment in the summertime. So you use empty plastic flexible bottle from any household, usually shampoos. And then you cut the carefully round hole in the lid, and then when you fill the bottle with water, then you can squeeze it hard and it will spray. And some kids would modify for better spraying distance. They will use empty ball pen, that the tube where the ink is. And you will make the hole just the right size, then you insert that plastic little tube from your pen, and it'll make your distance way better and you shoot more accurate. And a comment in this picture says, friends that lived on the first floor was really in demand during this game because they can run really quick in their apartment and refill the bottles. So yeah, that was a lot of fun to do in the summer. Брызгалки. And more drink options in the Soviet Union. On the picture on the left side, there's a lady at the store makes so-called молочный коктейль, milk cocktail. Not sure what goes there, is just milk. So be like a smoothie, milk smoothie, really sweet, delicious. Cost, I think, was 10 kopecks. And then on the right, there's a line of people buying kvass. So that's your bread juice. I had a video on this topic. So it was usually delivered in the neighborhood in this big tank. And the lady will be sitting there selling them by the glass if people want to drink right on the spot. Or some people will fill their little bidoni, like aluminum containers, to take home. More summer entertainment for Soviet kids, reading books on a nice summer day, which is kind of bizarre. Modern generation, they don't read books at all, and I truly hope that books will become the thing again, just like LPs came back, and it looks like some young people even interested in playing cassettes and reel-to-reels. And on the right, it's so-called Tarzanka, so from Tarzan, so swing rope. And some winter entertainment. I think I don't need to explain what's going on in this picture. I did it once. There was some mean kid suggested me to try to put my tongue on the frozen pipe, and I never done it again. Learned my lesson. And of course in the winter you hear parents yelling, "Don't forget to put your hat on," or "You forgot your hat." So there's the lady. Obviously looks like Khrushchevka apartment, yelling from the stairs, looking for her kid because he forgot to bring his hat. Pet ownership in the Soviet Union. Pet ownership actually exploded after the Soviet Union had disappeared. I have a video on this topic too. But some people had dogs. Not many. None of my friends own a pet. It's kind of interesting. But we had quite a bit of homeless cats, and that's what girl on the right says, "Всех не пригладишь," you can't pet them all. We talked a lot about bread products in the Soviet Union, so here girl on the left is holding bublik s makom za 5 kopiek. So it's like a round pretzel with poppy seeds for 5 kopecks. So it's a delicious snack, good with tea. And a kid on the right is carrying baton, so it's like a big French baguette. And always you've been nibble on it if it's fresh and still warm, fresh from the bakery. It was very delicious. Soviet children were heavily utilized to take spots. So your parents still in line to get food, like in stolovaya and cafeteria. So if they see empty table, they'll send the kid to sit there and claim the spot, which is going on the left. He says "Занято," place is taken. Or your mom will make you stay in the line, says "I'll be right back," stay in line. So a kid kind of scared, lonely, staying, holding the spot for her parent in line to buy some groceries. One of the ways to find friends to play outside will be yelling, "A Sasha выйдет." So I usually would just go into apartment, ring the doorbell, and ask if my friend is available to play, and he could be punished for being naughty, so he will get grounded. He had to stay in his home, in his apartment, or he still has to do homework. And we had to do it because not many families had phone, or maybe you have a phone but other family doesn't have a phone. So you end up, like in my case, I would walk to different apartment buildings where my friends would live, and I ring the doorbell asking if they're available to play. So you can waste a lot of time just walking around, yelling at the windows or ringing the doorbell just to find somebody to play with. And of course, almost every kid owned a sled, sanki, because if you look at the world map, Soviet Union, pretty much most of it is like Canada. Hanging clothes outside to dry was another big project for parents in the Soviet Union. As I mentioned earlier, no one owned clothing dryers and not many families had washers. So after doing laundry by hand, boiling white stuff in the kitchen, then you carry stuff outside and then you air dry it. Even in the winter, I could never understand how it's possible for the clothing to dry in the winter where it's frozen solid. Literally, you see sheets, they hang like pieces of drywall, but somehow they manage to dry freeze or freeze dry. And for older kids, entertainment in the evening will be hanging out somewhere by the tree where will be a benches set up, and they'll play guitar, sing songs, maybe drink some alcohol. Gladить pionерский галстук, ironing of pioneer tie. It was usually made of silk, so it was really important not to have it wrinkled. So usually that would be parents' job to make sure that kids' pioneer tie was looking good and ironed. Once again, life without video games and cartoons, you have to find the ways to entertain yourself. So if you walk past this type of fencing, you have a wood stick and you make bam 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 noises, or you jump off the roofs into snow piles. I'm not sure about movie projectors, but a lot of families owned, they call it diafilmy and diaprojectory. So it's you have to advance film manually, and usually you have like maybe fairy tales or some kind of stories or your own slides that you could watch on a screen, and that was another form of family entertainment. One of the benefits of life in apartment buildings, for kids of course, is because you have always plenty of kids to play different games that require a lot of kids, like Казаки Разбойники, or you play Germans versus Soviets, like war games, hide and seeks. And we had kids, like I remember about easy 6-10 kids you can play with. So that part was a lot of fun. I feel bad for my kids. I enjoy to have my own house, to live kind of far away from the busy places, but man, for kids you have to take them somewhere so they can play with other kids. So that sucks. I enjoy this big crowds and a lot of fun with other kids. Once again, we see that girl sitting by her window with the stuff between the window frames. I lived in a newer apartment buildings built in the late 70s, early 80s, so we had a single window. And on the right side, there's a grandma, private entrepreneur, selling homemade candy, so-called petushok na palachke. So it's like a bird on a stick. So it's a sugary candy that you can buy, and she has a full bag of them. And they will be like 10-15 kopecks a pop. That's hilarious that she remembered this stuff. I forgot. So on the left, it's so-called pionерское расстояние. So when we had the school dances, we had this expression, pioneer distance. So you keep a distance, like stretch arms between a girl and a boy so bodies don't touch. And that means that you are, wholesome person. So you keep pioneer distance. And there'll be expression, hey, keep the pioneer distance, like don't get too close to me. And on the right is called санитарная комиссия. So there's like I don't know how to translate it. So there's the girls that kind of like pretend to be nurses, but they ask you to show your hands and they inspect your nails if they're dirty or not. So they kind of like make sure everyone is clean team. And some summer memories for the Soviet kids. A lot of kids went to so-called пионерские лагеря, pioneer summer camps. So the kids usually stay there for entire months or at least 2 weeks. So it's extended period of time. I hated doing it. I went there once and I didn't like it at all. I prefer to stay in the village with my grandparents and play with my friends. And the girl remembers her one-piece bathing suit with the little skirt. Some house chores that Soviet kids had to do. On the left, the kid is whacking the rug to knocking the dust out of it at night. So he's watching the dog and beating the rug. And behind you kind of see like a Khrushchevka style apartment. And a girl on the right, she's sorting out buckwheat. So quite often buckwheat had bad items in it, so it wasn't cleaned really well. So in this case, you have to like by hand actually sort the buckwheat and take all the like little branches and stuff out of it before you can cook. And famous физкультура, физическая культура in school. We had to do a lot of like gymnastic related things like jumping over this kозел, goat thing, playing basketball, or climbing the rope. And almost every winter you'll get a serious cough, and one of the way to treat it was with banki, so those little jars. I made a video on this topic as well. It's a really bizarre way, but it did help. I prefer it much better than горчичники, the mustard sheets. So you have a match and you burn the air out of the glass jar and then put on your back and it sucks your skin. Makes horrible looking round bruised circles, but it did help. Свинец плавят. So that was a big time boys entertainment, melting the lead. So we'll find some old batteries, car batteries, rip them apart, take the lead out, and lead melts at pretty low temperatures. So if you set up nice fire, have some metal container like old frying pan, you can melt that lead and then make different shapes out of it, which was pretty cool, but apparently not really healthy. Some more snapshot of the Soviet children life. On the left, she called it mini, so mini skirt. They were pretty strict about how short the skirt's supposed to be. Girls wear uniforms just like boys, but they wear skirts. So at some point they would say, hey, they were too short. But I remember in the 9th and 10th grade, so that's like a Soviet high school, I had a couple girls, they wore extremely short skirts, which was nice. And on the right, it's called Первый поход, so it's the first time a kid goes on a hiking trip with their buddies. And of course, mom gives her so much stuff because she's nervous he won't have enough socks or underwear. Some more children's games. One on the left is called 10. I honestly don't recall what this game is about, something with the ball. And on the right, it's called колечко, выйди на крылечко, so ring, come up on the porch. Honestly, I also don't remember what the game is about, but one person is, I don't know what they used to do. I don't recall anymore. Подорожник. The Google tells me that translation in English is plantain. So this wild plant that we use a lot if you had awi. So a lot of kids were wearing shorts in the summer. If you trip on the blacktop, you'll skin your knees, and we will rip a couple of leaves of plantain, подорожник. Then you kind of make it, so it has a juice coming out. Sometimes people spit on it. Then you apply it to your awi, to your wound, and it will stop bleeding. Подорожник. Returning milk bottles. Сдавать молочные бутылки. I already made a video on this topic. We had really high prices for the glass jars, like deposit price. So people returned the bottles, and usually there were long lines to return the bottles. That's why girl doesn't look happy. Вторая смена, the second shift. As you see, Soviet kids walked a lot. So the second shift means that in some schools, there were just so many kids in the area that they had to run school in 2 shifts. So half of the kids will go to school in the morning, and the half of the kids will go in the afternoon to have same classes. I happen to have that in the third grade, and I had mixed feelings about it because you can sleep in the morning because your school starts like at 2:30 p.m., but then you sit in school when all your friends are playing outside, so that was annoying part. Мусор выбрасывать, to throw away trash. So this picture confirms again that the girl lived in older apartment buildings, like I said, Хрущевка most likely, because in our apartment we had a central system of dumping trash right inside of the building. There'll be a short video right after this clip. And as you see, we didn't have plastic bags, so people would just have a trash in the buckets and then you carry it outside and dump it in the trash bin.
Мусор падает туда.
I love this picture. So there's more ways of trying to get better without using antibiotics. On the left is дышать над паром, to breathe above the steam. So you boil water and you kind of cover yourself with a towel and you kind of keep your face above the steam and you try to breathe the steam in, especially when your nose is stuffy. And it's extremely uncomfortable because you're very hot, it's steam in your face is red, water is dripping, and your mom will make you do it for about 10 minutes. And on the right, it says the kid is sick, his throat is in pain, and he's waiting for a doctor. And here we have a winter and summer entertainment. In the winter, you play hockey. In the summer, you hang out on the beach. I never had skates, but I played a lot of hockey, just run with the hockey stick and the pucks with other kids. None of my friends had skates as well. And we also spent a lot of time on the beach. And of course, adults will have snacks and some alcohol. More moments of life of the Soviet girls. So most girls had long hair, so there's grandma helps to braid her hair. And the girl on the right, on the way from school, found some flowers called мать и мачеха. Домашнее задание – выращивание лука на окне. The homework to grow onions by the windowsill. We had a problem with supplying of fresh vegetables and fruits in the winter. You literally couldn't buy anything. So a lot of people grow their own onions by the window. So you just take like a yellow onion and you put in a jar and the roots will grow. And then you have some fresh green onions to eat in the winter. And from the early days, girls had to learn how to fix their own clothing. In this case, it's вечернее пришивание воротничка и манжет к форме. So we had uniforms, and she is attaching the collar and the sleeves to her uniform. Воротнички и манжеты. У вас есть макулатура? Do you have recycled paper? So we had to do a lot of collecting old newspapers, anything for recycling paper, and what's called makulatura. And I'll be teacher say, hey kids, our task is to collect 500 kilograms, or we have this competition who will take the first place for the most amount of makulatura. So you get anything from your own family, and then you start hitting apartment buildings in the neighborhood, ringing the doorbell and asking people, у вас есть макулатура? Can you share some old newspapers with us so we can take to school? And fun a little detail. This is old apartment building because doors are so tall and fancy. And you see there's 3 doorbells. So this is the communal apartment. And there's 3 families live in that one apartment. Коммуналка. Рейтузы и кусачий свитер. Long underpants and a scratchy sweater. So that's the issue with the winter dressing. Since we played a lot outside, you had to dress up warm and then you put your wet clothing on the radiator to dry up. More different style children's game. Once again, there is a huge benefit of living in the big apartment buildings for kids. I know parents hated it, but for kids that was great because we had so many children to play with. And while in the summer camp, of course, you share scary stories, which is on the left. В черном-черном городе, в черном-черном доме, на черной-черной крыше, in a black city, in a black house. And on the right says, мазать девчонок зубной пастой. So that was this tradition on the last night of camp. Kids will try to sneak out their rooms and bring the toothpaste, and they go into other children's rooms and they put the toothpaste all over kids' faces, and it was called Королевская ночь, the Queen's Night. And for the kindergarten age kids, memories will be being a zaychik, a little rabbit during the New Year presentation in the kindergarten, and riding a three-wheeler bike, трехколесный велосипед. And more children's game outside. I talked about секретики before in my videos, so it's called демонстрация секретика, showing your friend your little secret. So you dig a hole in the ground, then you put some cool stuff inside, maybe pretty wrappers of the candy, maybe some whatever pieces of glass, anything else cool, and then you cover it with the glass. You have like a little window, and below that is your cool stuff. Then you cover it with dirt, and it's your little secret. And on the right, of course, it's раз, два, три, четыре, пять. Я иду тебя искать. So that's the hide and seek game. And more winter entertainment. Once again, this is the life without video games or TV. If you have a decent hill, kids will bring buckets with water, and they keep on pouring water till they make the ice road or ice hill, and then you just ride on it all the way down the hill on the ice. Pretty scary, but a lot of fun. And on the right, we also made snow angels. Апельсины, oranges. Oranges were hard to get in the Soviet Union. It was deficit, and they usually only were available in the winter. I cannot tell you why. So they'll show up around December, January. The price was 1 ruble 50 kopecks per kilogram, so an average worker could afford to buy 100 kilograms or 220 pounds on his monthly salary. So to give you an example, if you make $3,000 a month, that means that you'll be paying $13 a pound for oranges here in America, and the price usually about $1 a pound. So oranges were extremely expensive in the Soviet Union, and still there were big lines, and people tried to get some of the treat for their kids and family. Okay, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this review of the book «А Саша выйдет», Can Sasha Come Out by Evgenia Dvoskina, Soviet Childhood in Pictures and Stories. And if you liked this video, please don't forget to like it. We'll talk to you soon. До побачення. Goodbye.